Hey everyone, and welcome back to Sip and Talk.
Anything wild happen in your world lately?
Well, nothing quite that entertaining.
Okay.
Though it's funny, just the other day I was walking my dog, right, and this squirrel,
Oh, yeah.
it must have been hopped up on caffeine or something.
Oh,
It did this crazy, triple backflip off a trash can.
No way.
I swear it was like watching a tiny furry acrobat.
That's amazing.
Talk about a mystery for the ages.
All the Nazca lines.
Yeah, researching the Nazca lines.
Yeah, those have always fascinated me, too. It's like,
Yeah.
How did they do that? And more importantly...
I know.
Okay.
Okay, so for you listening, picture this. A vast, empty desert.
Yeah.
Stretching as far as the eye can see, and etched into this desert floor
Yeah.
are these enormous figures, animals, plants, geometric shapes, all made by the Nazca people centuries ago.
It's mind-boggling.
It really is.
Yeah.
We're talking about designs that are so large, they're best seen from the air.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to create something like that
Yeah.
without being able to see the whole picture.
I know, right?
It's like a giant connect-the-dots puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of dots, you have trenches in the ground.
Okay, that's a great visual. And, speaking of seeing the big picture, it's hard not to get pulled into all the wild theories
I know.
surrounding these lines. I mean,
What?
some people think they were created by aliens.
Oh, yeah, the alien theory.
Yeah,
That's a popular one.
it is.
It's not hard to see why people make that leap.
Right.
These lines are so precise, so massive.
I know.
It's tempting to think they must have had some extraterrestrial help.
Right. Like, picture these little green dudes hovering above the desert in their spaceships, guiding the Nazca people with lasers or something.
Maybe they needed a giant landing strip.
Crazy.
But hey, stranger things have happened, right?
True. And even if we set aside the aliens for a moment,
Okay.
there are still so many questions swirling around these lines.
Yeah.
Like, how did the Nazca people manage to create such perfectly straight lines over miles and miles of desert?
Yeah.
And what was their purpose?
Right.
Were they ceremonial pathways, astronomical calendars, giant messages to the gods? It's enough to make your head spin.
I know. It's like trying to decipher a secret code from another world.
Totally.
And the more you learn, the more mysterious it gets.
I know.
But hey, that's part of what makes it so captivating,
Right, exactly. It's like a puzzle that's been waiting centuries to be solved.
Oh, for sure.
And speaking of puzzles, did you know that researchers are still discovering new geoglyphs to this day?
Really?
In fact, they recently used AI to uncover hundreds of new figures hidden in the desert.
Wait, AI.
Yeah.
Like robots are out there digging up ancient art.
Pretty much.
Okay, now that's a plot twist I didn't see coming.
It is pretty wild.
So are these new discoveries similar to the ones we already know about? Or are they throwing a wrench in our theories?
Well, some of them fit into the patterns we've already observed.
Okay.
More birds, more animals, those intricate geometric shapes.
Yeah.
But there are also some that are totally unique, pushing the boundaries of what we thought we knew about the Nazca and their art.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. Like, what kind of unique figures are we talking about? Are we going to have to rethink everything we thought we knew about the Nazca lines?
Well, I don't know about everything, but it definitely adds another layer of complexity to the puzzle. For instance, they found a geoglyph depicting a beheaded human head.
A beheaded head.
Yeah. Ooh, pretty intense, right?
Yeah, it is pretty intense.
And it makes you wonder, what stories were the Nazca trying to tell?
I know.
What messages were they encoding in these massive artworks?
Ooh, a beheaded head. That's definitely adding to the mystery.
Right.
It's almost like a warning.
Yeah.
Or maybe a sacrifice. Okay, I'm getting goosebumps over here.
Snates.
But seriously, this is what I love about exploring these ancient wonders. It's like opening a window into a completely different world.
Yeah.
A different way of thinking, a different way of seeing the universe.
Absolutely.
And it makes you realize just how much we still don't know about the past.
Right.
And maybe even about ourselves.
You hit the nail on the head, and it's not just about the past.
What do you mean?
These new discoveries, they're changing how we understand the present, too.
How so?
I mean, think about it.
Okay.
We're using cutting-edge technology to unlock secrets from a civilization that vanished centuries ago.
It's true.
It's like a dialogue across time, a bridge between worlds.
That's deep. I love it.
Yeah.
It's like those lines in the desert. They're not just static images. They're alive.
They are?
They're speaking to us across the centuries, challenging us to think bigger, to question our assumptions,
For sure.
to explore the unknown. And who knows? Maybe someday we'll finally crack the code and understand the true meaning of the Nazca lines.
I hope so.
But until then, the mystery continues.
Absolutely. The mystery, the wonder, the endless possibilities.
Wow.
That's what keeps us coming back for more.
Well said. But you know what? All this talk about ancient mysteries has got me feeling like I need another sip of something refreshing.
Oh.
What about you? Ready for a refill?
You read my mind.
Great. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be back in a flash to dive even deeper into the enigma of the Nazca lines.
Sounds good. All right, we're back and ready to tackle more of this Nazca mystery.
Cheers to that. You know, as we were talking about those AI discoveries, it got me thinking about the sheer scale of these geoglyphs.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're talking miles and miles of lines etched into the desert.
Mm-hmm.
How on earth did the Nazca people manage to create something so massive and so precise without modern tools?
That's a question that's puzzled researchers for decades.
Yeah,
and you're right, the precision is astonishing. It's as though they had some kind of aerial blueprint to follow.
I know, it's crazy.
But the tools they used were remarkably simple.
Really?
Stakes ropes and a lot of elbow grease.
Wait, so no lasers, no alien blueprints beamed down from space?
I'm afraid not. But honestly, the fact that they achieved this level of accuracy with such basic tools is even more impressive, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It speaks volumes about their understanding of geometry engineering and their dedication to this project.
Yeah, you're right. It's mind-blowing. And, you know, it makes you wonder, what was this social structure like back then? Did they have like a master geoglyph architect who designed the whole thing?
Mm-hmm.
Or was it more of a community effort?
Those are great questions. And while we don't have all the answers, the research you provided suggests that creating these geoglyphs was likely a communal effort, requiring a high level of social organization and cooperation.
Wow.
Imagine coordinating hundreds, maybe even thousands of people all working together to bring these massive designs to life.
I can picture it now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a giant ancient art festival.
Yeah.
Everyone pitching in maybe with music and dancing and feasts. You know, it kind of reminds me of those community barn-raising events you see in old movies.
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone working together for a common goal, creating something bigger than themselves.
And what's fascinating here is how these lines might have connected the Nazca people to their environment.
Oh, interesting.
Remember we talked about the rain rituals?
Uh-huh.
Well, some scholars believe that the process of creating these lines, the act of physically altering the landscape, was a way for the Nazca to interact with their gods and ensure their survival in this harsh desert environment.
Right. So it wasn't just about creating pretty pictures. It was about something much deeper, more spiritual.
Yeah.
Like a way to connect with the forces of nature and maybe even influence them.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, did they walk these lines?
Was
there a ritualistic element to moving along these paths, tracing the outlines of these giant figures? Did they perform ceremonies or dances along the lines?
Ooh, I like where you're going with this. Imagine a procession of people.
Yeah.
Dressed in colorful robes, carrying offerings, chanting or singing as they walked the lines under the desert sun.
Wow.
That would have been an incredible sight to behold.
It would have been. And, you know, thinking about it from that perspective, it's almost as if the lines themselves weren't the primary focus.
What do you mean?
Maybe it was the act of creation, the physical and spiritual journey of making them, that held the true significance for the Nazca.
That's a really interesting point. It shifts the focus from the final product to the process itself.
Right.
And it makes you realize that there's so much we may never know about the beliefs and rituals of the Nazca people.
Yeah.
But that's part of the allure, right? It sparks our imagination and invites us to fill in the gaps with our own interpretations.
Absolutely. And, you know, as we delve deeper into this research, what strikes me is how often we project our own modern perspectives onto the past.
Oh, yeah.
We see these massive geoglyphs, and we immediately try to understand them in terms of our own technological capabilities and artistic sensibilities.
That's so true. It's like we can't fathom how they could have created something so grand without sophisticated tools or maybe even some outside help.
Yeah.
But what if their worldview was completely different from ours? What if they had a relationship with the land and the cosmos that we can barely even grasp?
Precisely. Maybe the lines weren't meant to be seen from above at all.
Interesting.
Maybe they were designed to be experienced from the ground as a physical and spiritual journey through the landscape.
Oh, wow.
Or maybe they were meant to be seen by the gods, a giant offering etched into the earth itself.
Whoa, that's a trippy thought.
It is.
Like, imagine those lines not as art for human eyes, but as a message to the heavens. A prayer written on the earth's canvas.
Yeah.
I mean, who are we to say what their intentions were?
Exactly. It challenges us to step outside our own limited perspective and consider the possibility that the Nazca people saw the world in a fundamentally different way than we do. And that opens up a whole new realm of interpretations and possibilities.
It's like those lines are a portal to another dimension, another way of thinking, another way of being.
It is.
It's enough to make you want to book a flight to Peru right now and experience those lines for yourself.
I wouldn't blame you. And, even without hopping on a plane, we can still connect with that sense of wonder and mystery.
That's true.
The research you provided mentions that there are virtual tours of the Nazca lines available online.
Oh, wow, virtual tours. That's the next best thing.
Yeah.
I'm totally checking those out later.
Cool.
But, even as we marvel at the artistry and ingenuity of the Nazca, it's important to remember that they weren't just abstract artists.
Oh, definitely.
They were real people living real lives, facing real challenges.
That's a crucial point. And that brings us back to the question of their motivations.
Yeah.
What were the social, political, and economic forces that shaped their world?
Right.
Were the lines a way to unite their community, to express their cultural identity, or maybe even to consolidate power?
I like that angle. It's like, were the geoglyphs a form of ancient propaganda? A way for the elites to showcase their power and influence? Or maybe a way to inspire awe and devotion in their followers?
Those are certainly possibilities. And it's not uncommon for monumental art to serve multiple purposes.
I see.
It can be a form of religious expression, a display of power, a symbol of cultural unity, all rolled into one.
It's like those giant pyramids in Egypt, right?
Yeah.
They weren't just tombs for pharaohs.
Right.
They were statements of power, testaments to the ingenuity of ancient civilizations, and enduring symbols of human achievement.
Absolutely.
And maybe the Nazca lines were something similar, but with their own unique twist.
Exactly. And just like with the pyramids, the Nazca lines continue to inspire wonder and debate centuries after their creation.
I think that's a great note to wrap up this part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
But we're not done yet, are we? We've got even more to uncover about the Nazca and their enigmatic geoglyphs.
We do. And in the next segment, we'll be exploring some of the lesser-known theories and interpretations.
Awesome.
Digging even deeper into the mystery of the Nazca lines.
All right, we're back for the final stretch of our Nazca Lines deep dive. I'm feeling like a seasoned archaeologist at this point. What about you? Got your digging tools ready?
Absolutely. My metaphorical trowel is primed and ready.
Nice.
It's amazing how much ground we've covered, from alien landing strips to ancient rain dances, but there's still so much more to explore.
Right. And speaking of exploring, you mentioned some lesser-known theories about the Nazca lines. Now I'm all ears. Hit me with the wildest interpretations you've uncovered.
Well, buckle up, because things are about to get a little out there. One theory suggests that the lines were actually a giant map.
A map?
Yeah, a representation of the Nazca's understanding of their world and its resources.
Whoa, a giant map. I can kind of see that. I mean, those lines crisscross the desert, all directions. Maybe they were marking underground water sources or trade routes.
Possibly.
Like a Google Maps from ancient times.
That's one interpretation, and it makes you think about how the Nazca might have perceived their landscape, their relationship to the land, and how they navigated this vast, arid environment.
It's funny, we rely so heavily on technology for navigation these days. GPS, Google Maps, you name it.
I know, right?
But imagine finding your way through a desert using giant geoglyphs as your guide. Talk about a celestial GPS.
It's a fascinating thought, and it speaks to the ingenuity and resourcefulness of the Nazca people.
For sure.
They were masters of their environment, adapting and thriving in a place that many would consider inhospitable.
Right. It makes you wonder what other skills and knowledge they possessed that have been lost to time. Like maybe they had a secret language written in the stars, or they could communicate telepathically with animals. Okay, maybe I'm getting carried away now.
Hey, there's no harm in a little speculation. It's what keeps the mystery alive. And even if we dismiss some of the more outlandish interpretations, there's a common thread that runs through many of these theories. It's the idea that the Nazca lines were more than just art for art's sake.
Oh, okay.
They were a way for the Nazca to interact with their world, to understand their place in the cosmos, and to connect with something larger than themselves.
That's beautifully said. And it really makes you think about the deeper meaning behind these lines. Maybe they weren't just about sending messages or marking locations. Maybe they were a way for the Nazca to tap into something profound, something universal, like a form of meditation, or a way to connect with the spiritual realm.
It's a compelling thought. And it reminds us that even though we're separated by vast stretches of time, we share fundamental human impulses with the Nazca. The desire to understand our place in the universe, the yearning for connection, and the drive to express ourselves through art and creativity.
I love that. It's like those lines in the desert. They're not just relics of the past. They're a bridge between cultures, between time periods, between different ways of seeing, and they remind us that despite our differences, we're all connected in some way.
You said it. And it's that sense of connection, that spark of wonder that keeps drawing people to the Nazca lines generation after generation.
Totally. It's like they hold a timeless appeal, a mystery that transcends language and culture.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, explored a ton of theories from the practical to the fantastical. But if you had to pick just one takeaway from this deep dive, what would it be?
That's a tough one. But I think for me, it's the realization that there's no single answer, no definitive solution to the Nazca lines puzzle. Maybe that's okay. Maybe the true value lies in the journey of exploration and the act of questioning, imagining, and connecting with the past in a way that enriches our understanding of the present.
I couldn't agree more. It's the mystery, the unanswered questions that keeps us engaged and curious. It's like a good book you never want to end. And speaking of journeys and explorations, I hear you have a recommendation for our listeners today. Something about travel and maybe a little bit of liquid inspiration.
Oh, you know me so well. Yes, for all of you fellow adventurers out there, I highly recommend checking out the YouTube channel Mickytolife. They've got stunning travel vlogs, insightful whiskey reviews, and even some fun unboxing videos that will feed your curiosity. It's the perfect channel for anyone who loves to explore the world one sip at a time.
Sounds like a great way to keep the spirit of discovery alive, even after our deep dive comes to an end.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, it's time to wrap up this episode of Sip and Talk. But before we sign off, we want to leave you with a little something to ponder. Imagine you're standing in the midst of the Nazca lines, the desert wind, whispering secrets in your ear. What questions would you ask the ancient artists who created these enigmatic wonders? What stories would you hope to unearth?
That's a fantastic question to leave our listeners with. It encourages them to keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the spirit of wonder alive.
Exactly. So until next time, keep sipping, keep talking, and keep those minds open to the mysteries of the world. Cheers.
Do that.